All right, let's talk about success. Specifically, let's talk about that weird, kind of hollow feeling you can get right after a huge win. You know, you'd think it would be this moment of pure, unfiltered joy, but yeah, sometimes it just isn't. We're going to dig into the neuroscience of why your brain can sometimes feel like it's totally unimpressed with your biggest victories.
I mean, think about it for a second. Have you ever busted your butt for months to land that big promotion? You finally get it and you're just like, huh, okay. Or maybe you trained for a year, you cross that marathon finish line, and instead of pure euphoria, you just feel totally wiped out. Yeah, that feeling is way more common than you think, and it's the big mystery we are going to solve today.
So what do we even call this feeling? Well, let's just call it what it is, the emptiness of success. It's that strange, anticlimactic moment when the reality of your achievement doesn't quite live up to the blockbuster movie you were playing in your head. And turns out there's a very, very specific reason for that.
Right, you imagine this epic, slow-motion, music-swelling moment. You see yourself on top of the mountain, arms in the air. But when the moment actually gets here, it's quiet. It's just another moment in your day. And that disconnect, that's the whole problem. The answer isn't about the goal itself. It's about what's going on deep inside our own brains.
See, to really get this feeling, we have to understand our brains. And it turns out one of the most fundamental things your brain does isn't just thinking or feeling, it's predicting. Your brain is basically an organ of anticipation, constantly trying to guess what's going to happen next.
That's right. Just think of your brain as this super powerful expectation engine that's always running in the background. It's making forecasts about everything, from whether that driver is going to use their turn signal to, and this is the important part, how unbelievably amazing you're going to feel when you finally hit that huge goal.
So how does this engine actually work? Well, it's a surprisingly simple three-step process. First, it sets an expectation. Getting this new job is going to feel incredible. Then, step 2, you experience the reality. You get the job. And finally, and this is the most crucial part, your brain calculates the difference between those two things. And that difference, that little gap between what you expected and what you actually got, well, it has a scientific name. And this right here, this is the key that unlocks this whole mystery. It's called the prediction error gap.
Now, this is really the core idea. Your emotional reaction isn't actually based on the event itself. Nope, it's based on how that event stacks up against the prediction your brain made beforehand. The error here doesn't mean you made a mistake. It's just the neurochemical term for that gap.
So this gap can swing one of two ways. If reality turns out to be better than what you expected, boom, you get a positive prediction error. That's a lovely rush of dopamine, a pleasant surprise. But if reality falls even a little bit short of that grand expectation, even if the reality is still awesome, you get a negative prediction error. And that, well, that just feels like disappointment.
And this brings us right back to where we started. When we're talking about our biggest life goals, the things we've been dreaming about for years, our expectations are naturally going to be sky high. So, what happens then?
This right here is the internal monologue of a negative prediction error. You did the thing, the achievement is real, it's in the bag. But that feeling you were anticipating, the one you built up in your head for months or even years, was so massive, so euphoric, that almost any reality would have a tough time matching it. That's the gap in action.
This is probably the most important thing to remember from all of this. That feeling of emptiness is not a sign that you failed or that your goal wasn't worth it. It's just a quirk of your biology. Your brain's prediction engine set the bar so high that reality, no matter how great it was, created a negative prediction error.
Think about this for a second. A huge chunk of the dopamine, the pleasure, the rewarding feeling, actually comes from the pursuit of the goal. It's in the striving, the daydreaming, the inching closer. The arrival, the finish line, that's just the last little bit. So when the chase is over, that steady drip of feel-good chemicals can just stop.
Okay, so if this is just how our brains are wired, are we doomed to feel let down by our biggest accomplishments? No, absolutely not. The trick is to work with your brain's wiring, not fight against it. It's all about reframing your finish line. So how do we actually do this? How do you manage the gap? Well, you start by shifting your focus. You stop putting all of your emotional eggs in that one big finish line basket. Instead, you learn to get those dopamine hits from the process itself. You celebrate the small wins. You focus on goals you can control, like the effort you put in today, not just the outcome 6 months from now. You learn to savor the climb instead of only dreaming about the view from the top. And let's be super clear here.
This is not about dreaming smaller or lowering your standards. Not at all. It's about changing where you get your satisfaction from. The ambition can still be absolutely massive, but the joy should be found every single day in the work that it takes to get there.
So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. What if we've been looking at success all wrong? What if the achievement itself, the trophy, isn't really the prize? What if the real prize is the resilience, the discipline, the strength, and the person you had to become along the way? That's something to think about.